Welcome to Friends of the Children Portland, the power of mentorship. I'm your host, Travis Type. Friends of the Children Portland is a nonprofit that provides one-to-one professional mentorship for children facing systemic obstacles. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to hear from the executive director, as well as mentors and alumni on how impactful these programs are and what it really means to promise 12 years of mentorship no matter what.
I love waking up and coming to this job every day. I love watching the youth, but I also feel like it's a system of change makers. And so the mentors, my colleagues who are, on the administrative side, we're really able to wake up and say we're trying to make this world a little bit better every day. And every year we're able to see how it is getting better every day. So it's not just theoretical, it's very realistic. And I love that. Our founders, Duncan and Cindy Campbell, started the organization 31 years ago. And Duncan, he was a very accomplished businessman. It was important for him to start an organization that would provide the support that he would have needed based on the obstacles and barriers that he had when he was a young child. And so Duncan, being Duncan, had the idea, but really wanted to look at mentoring because he knew that was something that was really important. But he really wanted to know what was it about mentoring that was going to make the difference in a child's life. He worked with researchers, and they really looked at two things. The paid professional piece of mentorship of the sauce is important because taking it out of the volunteer space provides more stability for the mentor staying at the organization and being with that youth. And then the other piece that is really very important as well is the longevity. And so having that long-term relationship with a caring adult is really what sets Friends of the Children apart from other wonderful organizations. But that piece of it really is where we've seen the not only inspiration of the program, but the transformation that the youth are able to experience during their time with us.
At first I thought it was I was excited when I was younger, and then the more I got older, I had my phase where I thought it was weird to have a mentor because I was nobody else has it. And then once I got into high school, I learned to appreciate my mentor a lot more, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity to have a mentor and be able to grow with her throughout life. I think it was one of my favorite things that I'm most thankful for in life. Yeah, I definitely needed her support through a lot of things in life. I feel like kids definitely need endless opportunities of support. I feel like it shouldn't be fit into one role. Definitely things like this is something that's needed in the world because people don't know what goes on in your regular life. So having a mentor is a plus, and a lot more than what other people think that is needed is just that unending support that we get with them, especially me graduating out of the program and I'm still 21 and I'm still coming and around and still getting support that I need. That's something that somebody needs to be able to know okay, I can depend on people and I have people I can call on. And I feel like a place like Friends of the Children is something that everybody needs access to, honestly. I feel like if I didn't get the opportunities that they gave me with some stuff, I wouldn't have learned the person I am today and been able to grow into the person I am.
Having a mentor was probably the most fun thing a kid could ever ask for because it's having an adult who's you see as a role model, kind of like another parent, but they're the fun parent. But they also still are on you about academics and things like that. But a lot of the time it was a lot of fun things. I grew up in a very unsustainable area. We had a lot of ups and downs. There was homelessness, there was not having enough food in the house at times, and Friends of the Children always made sure I had new clothes, I had school stuff, I had food, I had someone that I could talk to about my frustrations. I still got to experience the fun things that everybody else was experiencing, even though I was from a different income with all these other background issues. So I definitely think that they were very good at making sure that their youth felt included, no matter what circumstances that they were in. I think my favorite memory that I can recall on is when they would take us on our LEAP trips. LEAP is the coolest thing any kid could get to experience. You go kayaking down the Salmon River for 5 days. From all the way to the tip of Idaho, all the way back down to Oregon. You have no cellular service, and there's animals out there, there's snakes, there's spiders, and there's no tent. You just gotta be prepared. You gotta be able to fall asleep when you can and wake up when it's time to go. But it was a lot of fun. Like, that was my favorite memory from Friends of the Children. After I graduated, I definitely came back a lot of the time, whether it was for alumni events or they were like, hey, can you come help with Friendsraiser, which is our like Friends of the Children fundraiser, which is totally fun. You get to help set up, you get to see all these people coming to donate. But this year, I was asked to be a part of the Night of Excellence by Tracy Rossi, who is the executive director for Friends of the Children. She is awesome. I met her when I was in the 8th grade, right before she became the ED here, through Ride Around Portland, which was a great thing for me at the time. I loved telling stories.
Sai, when I first met her, was a middle schooler, and she was a little bit shy, and she just was not going to do any public speaking. Thank you very much. And she was doing this writing workshop. And at the end of the writing workshop, she said, well, I wrote a poem that I really like, and I will speak in front of this group. It was of 100 people, but that's about it. And then over the last few years, she's since graduated. And we connect and we talk, and she's, you know, she was talking about how it's still not her favorite thing to talk in front of people, but she was working with youth and she was teaching a wrestling class, so she was stepping into her fears. We had a wonderful opportunity with some commercial real estate folks who invited us to be featured at their, what they call their Night of Excellence. And so I said, I wonder if Sai might be interested in being our guest speaker. So I reached out to Sai and she goes, yeah, I think I'll do it.
I honestly did not know that I was going there to speak until like a week before. But I was like, oh yeah, I can come up with something. And so I told them about like my struggles with like having dyslexia and how math was also a very hard thing for me and how my mentors helped me.
And so that poem that she read in front of 100 people when she was in middle school and very nervous, she was now at the Ritz speaking in front of about 450 people about her experience.
It seemed to give people a different perspective on how like impactful Friends of the Children is, and how everybody in Friends of the Children has done a part in everybody's lives.
Seeing her talk about how she teaches reading and how she was also speaking in front of this group of people beautifully was just one little example of the power of this program, because it's not just the skills that you gain, which are wonderful, but also that emotional intelligence, that ability to convey an idea and reflect back on our own experience and share it with others was just remarkable, and I've enjoyed watching her grow.
Friends of the Children Portland is the founding chapter of what is now a national organization. Up next, we dive deeper into what a one-to-one mentorship looks like with the story of Jay and Will. Stick around. Welcome back to the Power of Mentorship. Friends of the Children Portland has 2 sites in Multnomah County. One right here, the Morris Building in the Albina neighborhood, and their newer site in the Rockwood neighborhood bordering between Portland and Gresham. These places provide physical spaces for children and their mentors to talk, learn, explore, and create community. We'll head over to Rockwood to meet Will, a recent Friends of the Children graduate, and to talk to his mentor, Jay.
Will is voracious. Will loves knowledge. He loves to set goals for himself. He loves to challenge himself. And most of all, he loves growth. I think that it's always been a great pairing with him and I. We both love learning new things. We both love challenging each other intellectually.
A lot of our time spent together is about, debating things, maybe issues I'm having, what might be a don't do that or do this instead turns into a 2-hour-long debate about just some minute point at all. He's always, just very bright and insightful, and, just this person that I know that if I have, some question or a problem, I can come to him and he's gonna give me a raw, unfiltered, very, human response. And I always appreciate that.
We both love games and love strategy and problem solving. Recently, I got into Magic the Gathering after he fought for me to be interested for a very long time. And so I got into it, and so we did a lot of Magic the Gathering, and DC Deck Builder was a game that we both committed a lot of time and resources too. And so it was a lot of him and I spending time in game stores or at coffee shops talking and playing these games and challenging ourselves. And the mental exhaustion at the end, we were both always like, oh my God. But it was just a really good way to spend time both doing what like we both really appreciate and love, as well as talking through goals and plans for the future.
I've had 2 mentors. I was with Herschel up until 5th grade or so, maybe 4th, and then I've been with Jay since 5th or 6th grade. A lot of mentors show up differently depending on what their youth need. For me, Herschel showed up in my younger years very much as like the just kind of fun place to hang out and be and go do stuff. But as I got older, you know, Jay really showed up in this little bit of a tough love, kinda, you know, I'm gonna hold you accountable. When I'd act out or do something dumb, he'd be the first person to tell me, and the last person. You know, he'd really just drive it home. And he was a great role model, I think. That's really how it is.
To really do this work, like the work is always changing, and so it's really important to continue to educate mentors and the adults who support these youth. And so we go through trainings every year around different things, whether it's literacy training, whether it's trauma-informed training, like it is centered around the work and making sure that we are the best equipped to do our jobs. Being a mentor looks very different depending on who you're supporting. And so it could be we're doing homework and reading one day, the next day might be we're running around the park or learning to ride a bike. The next day could be we're at OMSI and learning about a new exhibit at OMSI. So it's really different every day and with every kiddo.
I think that's something that this program is super, super good at, is if a kid wants, you know, super outdoorsy person, right? Okay, cool, well, you know, we got 2 different buildings with 2 different gyms, and one of them has this outdoor yard, one of them's right next to a park. Need help with homework? Well, cool, we have study spaces, we have places where multiple kids will come together and all do homework together if you need that. You know, you're showing up once a week to do something, but there are a lot of small, like different clubs or events that happen that you can always tap into, which is great. I mean, not being somebody that's super social, but I was really into biking when I was younger. Okay, cool, in the summer there was this, you know, I think it was like a once a week, everyone would get together and go for like a bike ride around the city. Awesome. Like, that was super enjoyable. There's a ton of things like that in this program.
We're lucky enough to have a youth engagement team, which is phenomenal. And what they do is they partner with outside organizations as well as with mentors internally to identify what youth are looking for and see if there are any trends and patterns, and provide opportunities for youth to have programming in the offices, drop-in spaces where they can have those needs met. We've partnered with OMSI, we've partnered with the Blazers. We are able to provide youth a match for what we call their spark. So what is your interest? There are enough youth who have the same interest. Let's find something that we can bring in and have a fun activity around or have a learning piece around. We also have things like councils, which are allowing for adolescent youth to have time with other adolescent youth in a structured space where they're able to speak about kind of some of the hard things about being adolescents and are able to connect with peers in a way that they might not be able to outside of the space. It's a gateway as well as like a training space for youth of getting to experience all of these things. The youth engagement team does a great job of bringing the outside in.
I've gone through several different ideas of what I want to do in my future, or, you know, I had these crazy, outlandish, I'm gonna do this thing. Like I went to UO, you know, really thought I could do all that, graduating early, I'm there at 17. I was able to call Jay and be like, hey, I'm struggling. Like, I need more support. I can't just be out here on my own trying to do all this. I came back to Portland. This is my hometown. I mean, born and raised here. And it was really life-saving. Also, just to be able to come back and have support, have a community of people, know people. It's really great to be able to have something to fall back on like that. Because if I would have stayed there and tried to do it myself without this sense of community, it would have been really, really rough.
I'd still talk to almost all my guys who graduated. I saw Will last month. So we were able to still communicate. It's just in a different capacity. And also, like, the biggest change is, like, I let them all know of, like, I'm no longer leading the charge. of engagement. And so you are going to have to reach out sometimes, and you are going to have to go like, hey, how are you? And because now we've moved into more of peers, I'm not in the same role to show up of like, I'll set a plan for us, I'll carve the time out. Like, there is going to be some reciprocation that's needed, because that's also what it looks like as adults. And so it's still lessons being taught and learned. But also for all of them, like, what's for sure known for all of them is that like, I'm here, and like, as long as they want me to be, I'm around.
While Friends of the Children Portland promises 12 years of mentorship no matter what, often these relationships turn into lifelong friendships. And it all starts with building a bond at a young age. Coming up next, we learn what makes a child a good fit for Friends of the Children Portland and what it's like for the kids that take part. Welcome back to the Power of Mentorship. Now, we've heard from alumni and mentors about the meaningful experience of having a dedicated professional mentor. But Friends of the Children Portland doesn't just affect a child's life, it affects the community at large. According to a study done by the Harvard Business School Association of Oregon, for every dollar invested in Friends of the Children Portland, the community saves $7, which means every dollar of your donation creates real benefits for the Portland area. Friends of the Children Portland is able to create meaningful change by starting mentorship at a young age and then continuing to provide nurturing care over the next 12 years.
I think it's important to start mentoring kids when they're young, because it's all about building trust and getting a kid like willing to work with you. When you start at a younger age, you're able to build that relationship and actually get to like see them grow and like help them feel more connected. Since working here, I have seen a lot of growth with some of the kids that I've worked with. It really goes to show that when you're consistent reaching out every week and like showing up for these kids, you get to see that trust like build. I had kids where at first they're a little bit more shy and like reluctant to work on their academic support. I've seen like one youth where I remember at first he was super resistant the first 2 years, and now in like our 3rd year doing school visits, he is excited to see me, and he like asked me when am I like coming to like help him out. So it's pretty incredible the amount of growth you'll see from just meeting a kid in just a matter of a couple years. Right now I mentor 7, about to mentor 8. I have like a 1st grader up until a 10th grader. So it's a wide range of ages.
So we're looking at when kids are 4, so before kindergarten is when we go through our enrollment process. We're looking for youth who have very high barriers. I like to call them systemic barriers, and we are trying to identify the youth that would have a hard time enrolling in other programs and trying to meet the needs of those who have a really difficult time. We do a lot of observation, conversations, learning from the teachers and nonprofit organizations, and then the mentors who would ultimately be working with the youth. They're involved as well. It's very exciting because the caregivers come in and they're hearing about the organization, learning that their youth has been selected to have a mentor, and they get to decide based on the information that they're gathering if this is a fit, and they always say yes, because it's just a wonderful opportunity to have that relationship for 12 and a half years.
I think a mentor is really important in youth's lives outside of like the adults that they have in their lives, because it gives them the opportunity to like build trust with another person who is truly just like there to support the youth. I know that a lot of caregivers have a lot going on, either with their busy work schedules or they might have family things that they're working through. And so I know that caregivers are super like happy to see us come and work with their kids, because we're able to just like kind of focus on like what their passions and interests are and really just try to grow that. My life as a mentor is super different every day. I do a lot of school visits with my younger kids that are in elementary school, and then I also like take them out on outings. Mainly it's a combination of academic support while also just trying to do some skill building with what their goals are for the year.
It is a privilege to fail. So if you're working with kids who come from challenging backgrounds and they are not necessarily included in society in the way that we want, that when they mess up, a lot of people expect them to mess up, and they're just they're filling a narrative that people have about them. What I love about the mentors is that they're like, we all mess up. We got your back. Now what are you going to do? How are you going to learn? How are you going to use the core assets to think about what happened? And so they're able to really walk alongside them through that journey and know that it's a part of the journey instead of penalizing them and pretending like, oh, well, why are you messing up? And society expected you to do that in the first place, when we have a huge part of our community who fail, who have second, third, fourth chances, and it's fine, it's expected. And so just having that opportunity to be there for them, I think, is the ultimate expression of love.
My goal with supporting these kids is to be someone that I needed when I was younger. I really want to use like the skill sets I developed as an adult to like help young people grow and be healthy and just feel like they can be successful in life.
It is a very robust effort to be in this line of work, because as each child graduates and moves on, that's inspirational. But if you think about how we're trying to dismantle those systems and we're trying to challenge systems to look at these youth differently, to me that is transformation. We're not just doing business as usual and one kid at a time, and that's great for you. We're really looking at the big picture and wanting to make sure that they can go out and soar and become leaders, so then they can come back and have that ripple effect themselves with their own community. You can be a part of that inspiration and transformation, and I think that I'm a true believer that teamwork makes the dream work. We can't do this by ourselves, and so having that partnership, it's just a wonderful opportunity.
I think it's meaningful to invest in Friends of the Children because your money is supporting these youth's passions and interests. I think a lot of the kids we work with don't have a lot of opportunities that other kids might get because we're working with at-risk youth. And so the ability to give them more opportunities in terms of being able to go to sports games, being able to try to help nurture their artistic interests, helping them actualize maybe their writing goals, all of the supports that we get go directly to the kids and them figuring out what goals do they want to work towards. And I think it's super meaningful, and I know the kids really appreciate it.
I think Friends of the Children Portland provides a unique opportunity to invest directly in youth achieving their goals. And it can vary from youth to youth, but at the end of the day, we are able to commit resources to these journeys and this growth that's happening every single day. And so it's an opportunity to really invest in youth succeeding.
Friends of the Children is so hard to explain because you can only see it from the eyes of the people that are in it. But if you come and you see, how happy the children are, and, you come by even years later, you're gonna see that it's, there's new kindergartners every year that are coming in. Come and visit and see the way people act, and you'll see just how important it is to these kids.
Every year, young adults graduate from Friends of the Children Portland, and every year, a new group of children begins their mentorship journey. Your support goes to continuing the important work of paid professional mentors, as well as maintaining the Rockwood and Morris sites and providing field trips and educational opportunities to young people. If you haven't yet, scan the QR code to invest in the future of our community. I'm your host, Travis Tyke. Thanks for watching.